Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat pagi. Terima kasih kepada saudara pengacara majlis, ada ekor. Jadi saya jadi dia dua kali jadi. Okay, pertamanya saya I would like to thank the committee for inviting me to be with you all today. Which my talk is very short, about half an hour. I don't know whether I can cover all or not, tapi I try my best lah to be short and sweet as much as possible. So my topic is when patient take legal action, what is next? So I think since I think all of you here are probably head of services Datuk sendiri, and then head of department, senior consultant at your level. Definitely ONG quite famous for the any medical litigation. Sorry to say that, but I think you all know this is one of the apa ni yang kata fraternity yang always, because it involves two lives, mother and baby. Because of the baby itulah yang sebenarnya menyebabkan our medical litigation quite high. And then we can see the compensation later. See the compensation payout is very high because of the baby. Okay? So today I'm going to discuss on the how what as a HOD or administrator or senior consultant at your level, what should do next once you receive surat cinta from mahkamah lah, ataupun Dr. Nizam hantar surat kan, ataupun surat daripada PKM regarding this saman. So I'll give an overview, and then after that I'll give some management of litigation cases, what to do next if there is any litigation case, and there'll be some take-home messages that for you to take home. But this is all nothing new. Just refresher notes, because I think all of you have been dealing with the medical litigation. Siapa yang tak pernah dapat surat cinta from mahkamah? Please raise your hand. Yang tak pernah dapat tau. Tak pernah dapat. Kalau saya rasa pernah tu mungkin ramai kat kan. Yang tak pernah mahkamah, tak terlibat dengan apa-apa kes, ataupun pernah handle kes, jadi pengurusi JKPB, kes saman ke apa ke, JK apa ni, Jawatankuasa Penjahatan Kes Saman. Kawan-kawannya dengar ada kes kena saman. Okay, at least you know there is a case. Either your case, your neighbor case, your neighbor hospital, your colleagues from other hospital, your private kan. So what we are discussing today is in our fraternity in KKM. So I'm not touching on what happened in private sector, because private sector they have a different mechanism of handling this medical litigation of them. Okay, as you all know, this is the structure for medical legal in bahagian amalan lah. Just want to show you that we have a different sector under the cawangan medical legal. And then the deputy director is Dr. Ahmad Farid lah. And then Dr. Nizam in front of me here, dia jaga kes-kes mahkamah. So dia sebenarnya expert kes-kes mahkamah lah. So kalau surat mahkamah semua nama dia. Dia akan pergi untuk mediation dan sebagainya. So if we look at this statistics, the number of complaints, you can see because of 2020 and 2021 was the pandemic COVID-19. So at that point of time, kita do expect less complaints, but you can see the number is almost the same, not much reduced. You can see 2020 sama je, 200 lebih juga. 2021 165. Tapi that one is okay. But when we see the litigation statistics, 2017 up to 2021, whether it is a pandemic or not, people don't care. They want to do they want to proceed with medical litigation, they just proceed. You can see the 2020 kita ada 68 cases yang warna biru tu. Even at 2021 naik lagi 82. Agaknya orang tak ada kerja kan, duduk rumah, apa lagi up masa ni lah nak saman, because they have ample time to think of what to do. what to take within 3 years after the incident happened. Yeah? So dia boleh buat macam-macam. So we can see that there is an increment about 21% in 2021 compared to 2020. Jadi yang masuk ke mahkamah, we know that most of the medical litigation cases in ONG, kalau pergi ke mahkamah, boleh kata berapa? Tadi Dr. Nordin sebut kalau dapat SKT 99.9 memang fantastic kan. So saya boleh kata juga lah, mungkin the figure we can use that here. Medical litigation against a doctor, whatever outcome in ONG practice, I can say that it's about 90%. Betul tak tu Nizam? Angguk, tu Nizam angguk. Pak pengarah dah cakap dengan dia angguk je lah kan. Tapi it is true, because quite tough for us to, because the outcome is there. Kan, contoh kalau BPCP for example kan, of course lah there be some delay, some communication, some services issues, some clinical issues. Memang akan ada. When people try to find faults on you and our system, definitely they'll find it. Tak banyak sikit dia jumpa. As simple as on the technical aspect, for example, on the consent, all perfect lah. On the clinical aspect, professionalism, all perfect. Everything done from A to Z. Tapi on the technical aspect, consent signed but no name. No name, no procedure, written. And then the lawyer try to find out. Try to find that on the technical aspect, kita dah melakukan satu kesalahan atau kelemahan. Jadi, but you did everything. Clinical side tak boleh challenge, lawyer tak boleh nak kata apa. You did perfectly. Memang, yelah, okay lah. Tapi on the technical aspect, that's why kita pun tengok all these kind of things, you see. Sometimes in court, they cannot go against us on the clinical aspect. They try to find out on the technical aspect. Consent, communications, you see, delay. For example, lately, about circumcision, I think we publish a newspaper kan. So semua orang dah tahu dah case yang circumcision tu di Kuala Lumpur. The MAs did the circumcision. Unfortunate dia terpotong sekali dia punya penis kan. Jadi was 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And then payout was 2.7 million. Yang ada campur-campur semua 3.1 because of the aggravated damages and all that. So yang recently published, the reason is that because of delay from hospital Lipis to hospital Selayang. Dekat Selayang delay pula. Tapi just imagine from Kuala Lipis to Selayang, if ambulance lah, Kuala Kerai nak pergi ke Kota Baru pun during school holiday now, I think it takes about 2 hours. Ini Kuala Lipis nak pergi ke Selayang. And then you know that to preserve that parts, yang amputated parts, so I don't think so that our doctors actually really train how to preserve that parts, And then no experiment done before. Kan, siapa nak pergi buat eksperimen benda tu? Kan, siapa nak donate benda tu, nak buat eksperimen how to preserve that amputated parts? Jadi kat situ mahkamah telah mengatakan bahawa it was a delay. So delay ni, it means that can be a technical part, can be on the outcome is on the clinical aspect lah. Kan? So kat situ kita tengok macam-macam dia orang boleh cari untuk menang dalam kes ini. Tapi sama juga dalam kes CP dan sebagainya, because it was a delay, it was not conducted by what so called conducted by JM, for example, in tertiary hospital. Tertiary hospital ada super specialist, super specialist lah kan. Lepas tu ada specialist, ada senior, ada clinical specialist, ada registrar, ada MO, ada houseman. Tapi why JM yang pun tak? And then that baby dapat CP dalam prolong labor ke apa ke, yang menyebabkan budak ni jadi HIV dan sebagainya. So kalau lah dia berlaku di ABC, Alternative Birth Center, no one will question that. JM conduct okay fine. Tapi because of kita dah classifykan tertiary hospital, secondary hospital, you know, so we have to act at that level. Sebab tu kalau jadi tertiary hospital, macam dulu saya selalu pesan masa saya duduk di HRPZ dulu, kita ni at tertiary hospital, so we cannot expect the junior to manage the case, because people sent to tertiary hospital means that we need a tertiary care. If anything happen, you know, people just question it, simple as that. Kenapa MO yang conduct, not senior MO, not a registrar? Bahal datang masa tu dah pulih dah, memang dia keluar dah. Masa tu specialist, okay, somewhere, you see. But to defend on this technical aspect, sometimes it's difficult. Yeah? That's why I just want to remind all of us here, including myself, kalau kita nak buat apa-apa garis panduan, kita nak buat apa-apa SOP, make sure that if you can eat this way, don't put this way. You know what I mean? Kalau kita boleh buat SOP yang mudah, jangan buat SOP yang kompleks which is not doable or not actionable, because definitely we will fail. Kan, as simple as kalau boleh makan macam ni, makan macam ni lah. Well, you must go behind and take another spoon, try to get the rice and put inside your mouth. Maybe one or two of us can buat lah benda tu. Yang tangan dia, yang gimnas punya tangan tu probably boleh buat lah, tangan panjang Dr. Faridah, Cik Faridah pun tangan panjang boleh sampai belakang So belakang pendek macam mana. So that's why SOP is very important, because you go to court, the technical aspect they go look at your SOP. Because probably if you are going to discuss about SOP today, make sure that your SOP is doable. Don't buat yang kompleks yang semua orang tak boleh nak capai. At the end of the day, become medical litigations. They refer back to our SOP, which is the standard of care, and then probably kita akan sangkut and the technical aspect. Yeah. So that's why kita tengok case yang kat sini memang meningkat lah about medical litigation, because some said, yeah, because the lawyer easy to get money from the medical litigations because of the weakness in oversight, poor documentation of the doctor. Boleh saya buka emas tak? Boleh kan, sebab jauh kan? Nizam boleh Okay. Because from their experience, they know that most of the times we actually poor on our documentations. Yeah, I can give you one example. Ni baru slide nombor 2. Okay, I give you one example. This is nothing to do with ONG. It was in surgical practice. It was one night, it was one case dalam surgical ward. Masa night round ni, ada team ni led by surgeon, ada full teams lah, MO ada, houseman ada. Yang tukang tulis biasa siapa? Standard lah kan. Nanti jadi case, itu kan sekarang ni kan bully. Tapi itulah kerja kita zaman-zaman dulu. During my time, waktu cukup marah tu. During my time, dia marah tu perkataan tu. Tapi tak ada houseman dalam ni kan, tak apa. Okay? During my time means you kill yourself, right? Okay. So dalam case ni, surgeon buat rounds. Okay, it was a case budak lelaki umur 19 years old. And then actually this boy ni pass away lah next day. So masa round tu, surgeon ni buat palpations. Tapi houseman yang tulis tu, dia tulis board like rigidity. So as a surgeon, as a doctor lah, we know that kalau kita tulis board like rigidity tu maksudnya apa? Is peritonitis, right? So maknanya dia next step is go in lah. Laparotomy kan, exploratory, buka je lah apa-apa dalam tu, open and see. This houseman wrote that. Okay. Tapi surgeon ni dia kata dia tak cakap pun benda tu. The surgeon refuse. Dia memang totally disagree with that statement, with that written statement by HO. Dan kes ni kes dah mati ni. Kes dah mati. So sekarang ni siapa yang salah? Kalau kita nak tengok retrospektif, patient memang dah dapat septicemia and then die because of that, hypovolemic shock dan sebagainya. Septicemic shock, patient pass away. Surgeon kata dia tak, pada dia buat examination malam tu, she did not, it was not her finding masa tu. But the houseman tulis. So sekarang ni nak pakai siapa betul? Nak follow the houseman, nak follow the surgeon, and depan you can see the outcome of our patient pass away. So what I'm going, it's okay, you don't have to think siapa betul siapa salah, it's okay, don't have to worry about that. What I'm going to tell you is that about the documentations. We ask our houseman to write anything, everything, almost everything. Why not as a senior medical officer, as a senior specialist, or senior most at that point of time, just glance through whatever your junior most houseman has written in PhD. You know that whatever you write in PhD, it is a bridge between us and the judge. You can say, oh, I don't know, I have forgotten. Kan? Do judge believe you? Bila dia tengok dalam PhD that you have written that kind of statement, they will take that. Whatever in our grey matter, dia akan pakai lah about 1 or 2%. But most of the things, whatever you have written, that's why most of the cases that I said, kita tak berapa nak menang sangat because of our documentations. Yeah, I think this is, I think probably you all know about this. Tapi ialah nak sparkkan balik lah, spark balik supaya please, yeah. So I take this opportunity to remind all of us. Bukan I want to reduce the case of medical litigation in KKM, which is very impossible, yeah. Tapi sekurang-kurangnya bila kita pergi ke mahkamah, kita ada benda yang kita boleh defend ourselves. Pada hari ni Dr. Nizam baru je kita bincang pagi tadi kan. Kes tak masuk mahkamah lagi dah. Pejabat pegawai negara dah hantar memo surat kepada bahagian amalan mencadangkan kes ini diselesaikan luar mahkamah. Semua kes ONG ni, Datuk, utama Datuk, kes ONG dua-dua ni Nizam kita bincang pagi tadi. Tak masuk mahkamah lagi. Kita punya defense lawyer dah, dia kata kita nak selesai luar mahkamah lah. Sebab apa? Saya boleh puji juga di sini. Sebab kita punya jawatan kuasa pensiasatan kes aman bagus. Siapa yang lead? Tuan-tuan dan perempuan, datuk-datuk juga yang lead. Sebab you can find out what actually happened yang menyebabkan that particular outcome. Jadi lawyer pun guna balik benda tu. Dia kata kes ni macam, yelah kalau bahasa saya borak dengan Dr. Nizam, saya kata ni macam toge celup air panas lah. Toge celup air panas. Kalau masuk mahkamah macam mana? Yang dia ya. Oh ya, lepas ni Dr. Nizam nak bagi expert witness kan, ada digital. So that's why kita tak boleh nak defend, because sometimes because of on the clinical aspect, on the documentation aspect. That's why I try to highlight this, at least as a senior specialist, as a head of department, please do see your junior, especially the houseman kan. Diorang ni lah kita punya clerk kita yang tulis everything. Please do see whatever they write in the PhD. Okay, and then minit. Okay, this is the number of medical legal litigation cases in state lah. So tak boleh buat apalah, negeri termaju biasanya banyaklah kes kan. Negeri yang agak tak maju macam Kelantan pun boleh tahan juga tu, ya. Walaupun air kita merah kat sana, tapi banyak lagi kes saman ya. So Sarawak adalah 1-2 cases. So it depends on the state, sometimes it depends on the our society lah ya. Because maybe 10-20 years ago, mati apa semua they can consider as a takdir, kan, fate. Tapi sekarang mati mean saman. Go to hospital should not die. Kalau kita doktor pada musim-musim macam ni jangan mati. Musim-musim macam ni jangan mati. Doktor musim ni jangan mati. Kalau doktor mati musim ni masuk surat khabar, doktor ni stress, doktor ni depressed during this time. Okay, don't die this time, yeah? Just joking, this is none of our business, you know. This is kuasa Tuhan, but try to avoid masa ni, nanti kan susah Dr. Nizam nak kena jawab, ya? Okay, this is the damages awarded lah since 2017. You can see that the number of the amounts that government means our money, you know. Government means our money lah, taxpayer money. It is not KKM money, but money yang pay out pada penerima semua ni adalah duit datang daripada MOF. Okey, kita tengok 2021 litigation, 15 cases, 27 billion, 27.8 million, 15 cases litigation. Tapi kalau Ag Gracia 2.7 million, 57 case. Nampak tak beza dia? Better. That's why we try to solve whatever issue about the complaints yang kita rasa potential medical legal and all that. We try to solve through the execution mechanism, if possible. Yeah. And then it depends, of course lah, kita nak selesai Ag Gracia, it depends on the jawatan kuasa penyatakan bebas punya findings lah. Kalau jawatan kuasa bebas tu too defensive, cuma no kan, tapi outcome very bad to the patient, that everything is no. So tak boleh lah kan. So kita tak boleh nak tu. That's why we send most of the time that JKPB sitting officer from bahagian amalan akan hadir sama lah, from cawangan medical legal. So total payout in 2021 was 30 million about for the 72 cases. 30 million ni Datuk, kalau kita beli berapa banyak ultrasound, yang 3D ke 4D ke 5D ke, kan, banyak ni boleh dapat ni. Boleh bagi satu Malaysia punya hospital 5 satu hospital district pun kita boleh bagi yang 3D punya ultrasound with the colour Doppler and everything, kan. Tapi kita, government has to pay this because of the medical litigation. Because in Malaysia we don't have like other country, like if I'm not mistaken, Australia ni zaman, they have some, you know, no fault compensation. They practice that. Maksudnya datang ke hospital ni apa-apa jadi dia tak boleh nak saman. And then some country they have all this payout goes to the trustee. So this trust will manage that money, not the lawyer. You see? So they go by progress. Macam kita buat rumah lah, siap 5%, bank bayar 5%, siap 10%, bank bayar 10%. So they not lump sum like that. So mungkin budak ni kalau CP expectation sekarang ni up to 35 Nizam, 35 years old. Ni orang buat kajian ni, kita Malaysia 35. Jadi bila 35 dulu 17, 18, now 35. So dia calculate sampai umur 35 patut dia buat kereta. So dia akan bagi sekali kereta. Dalam mahkamah akan tentukan budak ni kena dapat kereta. Tapi bukan dia bawa lah, ayah dia bawa, tapi kereta yang modified lah. Macam OKU punya kereta kan, tapi Wellfire, bukan Nissan C20 kan, Wellfire with electric seat apa semua, zoom naik macam tu. Yang sekarang ni dah cuma bagi bayaran sampai untuk modify rumah, ada yang minta sampai 2.5 million. Kau tak setuju, tapi dia bayar 1.2 million. Minta 2.5 untuk renovation rumah, tak setuju, tapi kau setuju bayar 1.2 million. 1.2 million rumah kat Putrajaya yang 3 tingkat ada ni dalam rumah. Maksudnya masih banyak lagi amount tu. You see, but all this goes to the dia tak bayar ikut macam some state, some country, dia bagi kepada orang yang menguruskan tu, and then ikut progress. Tapi kat Malaysia belum ada lagi. So maybe we need to think that way lah, ya. Okay. Tak ada. Okay. Yang ni kes yang kita pernah bayar lah, tapi nama ni tak apalah, kes ni pun memang dah keluar dalam surat khabar apa semua. Masa kita PKP tu yang ada viral, yang suara ayah askar tu kan, dia kata KKM lambat bayar lah apa semua kan. Inilah anak dia. So kes Muhammad Fikri ni yang kita bayar paling tinggi sekali dalam tahun 2021 KCP 5.3 million. Okay, and then the highest payout in 2017 for CP HIE was 7.06 million. Semua ni nak tahu detail boleh tanya Dr. Nizam tadi. Semua kes HIE memang tinggi-tinggi, ya. So not to scare you all, tapi to give you some information. Yeah, probably this is what happened in our fraternity in ONG. Yeah, because of the that's what I said from the beginning. It was two lives, the mother and the baby. So most of the time the outcome is on the baby. Yeah. So on the baby inilah dia punya tu memang paling tinggi 7 million. 7 million ni satu jumlah yang cukup besar. Yeah. And then it is not end here. Kan akan ada lah lampiran-lampiran A dan siasatan tata tertib dan sebagainya after that. Okay. Alright. Okay, this is kita punya case management in MOH. So once we receive summon read from daripada plaintiff melalui peguam dia, kita akan kita akan dapatkan statement lah from our teams. So kat sini sebenarnya ada peranan ketua-ketua jabatan. Saya akan explain lepas ni lah. Lepas tu kita akan dapat pelbagai kalau tengok daripada AGC yang warna kelabu atas tu adalah tindakan oleh Jabatan Peguam Negara, Attorney General Office. They can they try to get information or statement from our defense teams, from the witness. Either it is from our staff, our doctors directly involved with the patients, or sometimes they may involve the head of department, just want to know about the SOP. They may call. They may call, may not call. Of course, katakanlah kes tu berlaku masa tu, you were on call, though you were not call, but you were on call, dia akan panggil jugalah, to get some statements from you. Then after that, probably memang ke mahkamah it always need expert witness. Lepas ni Dr. Nizam akan bagi tajuk on the expert witness. Most of you can be an expert witness lah. Biasanya kita akan tanya Datuk lah, siapa nak, siapa yang Datuk terbayang je, dia kata nama A, kita hantarlah surat pada A, please prepare. Kan? Kalau tak nak, kena beritahu Datuk awal-awal. Sebab kita akan sentiasa dapat nasihat daripada ketua perkhidmatan. And then after that, there will be a full trial, and then judgment and payment by MF. So in between that, bahagian amalan melalui our cawangan medical legal akan do all the independent inquiry. Okay, and then independent inquiry ni adalah untuk kes-kes saman. So only then if you receive an instruction from bahagian amalan, then only you proceed with the independent inquiry. Kalau boleh kes-kes saman ni jangan diadakan siasatan dalaman lah. Sebab apa? Dia akan jadi bias. Nanti boleh jadi bias, ataupun nanti pergi ke mahkamah, kadang-kadang kita ingat kita ni smart enough kan. Dalam siasatan dalaman yang kami lakukan, eloklah dalam mahkamah tu kita sebut benda tu, and then dia become exhibit tu mahkamah. Mana tadi laporan siasatan dalaman. Dalam mahkamah ni kita tak boleh nak sebut sesuka hati. Tak boleh nak sebut sesuka hati, because whatever you say, they will ask for it. They will ask as exhibit. So kita kena hati-hati bercakap dalam mahkamah ni, supaya benda yang kita cakap tu tak lari daripada apa yang kita ada dalam universiti sebenarnya. Okay. Kalau expert witness lain, they ask your opinions. Tapi kita sebagai saksi, witness, be careful. Just play around within the whatever in the BHT. Boleh buka BHT, tak ada masalah. Sekarang ni ada isu terbaru di mahkamah, kalau katakan lawyer coach kita, Dr. Nizam akan sebutlah lepas ni. Itu pun akan jadi masalah juga. Katakanlah kita tengah cross examination, kita asyik tengok WhatsApp ni. Contohlah kita bawa phone, orang cross examination kita tengok WhatsApp, seolah macam someone give us information. So lawyer yang plaintiff tadi, dia boleh kata kita ni being coached by someone. Dalam court kita tak boleh coach. Tak boleh kata jawab ni, jawab. Kita pun jawab betul. It's not from your true experience, you know. The witness is not from your own witness, but someone asked you to talk. Someone asked you to share the point. Maksudnya we are not true witness lah. But someone coach you. Walaupun kita ni pakar sekali mana pun, kalau dalam mahkamah dia boleh tentukan yang kita ni being coached by some lawyer lain, kita punya witness dan kita punya statement tu, mahkamah boleh tolak. Walaupun statement kita tu adalah mempunyai banyak point yang boleh come to the conclusion. Especially kalau kes mahkamah yang nak memihak kepada MOH, Patutnya kita boleh menang kes tu sebabkan kita ni being coached by, it seems to be being coached by someone, some lawyer. So kita punya statement tu dah tak boleh dipakai. Jadi elok-elok nak menang, boleh jadi kalah. Yes, sir? So careful, okay? And then so kita akan dapatkan bahagian amalan from MOH akan uruskan the appointment of expert witness, as what I mentioned just now. It depends on the suggestion from the head of services, head of service ONG. And then kita akan angkat kepada Datuk, kepada Tan Sri DG dan juga KSU for approval lah. Yeah. So biasanya kita akan bayar. Lepas bayar ni yang tak nak ni, dia panggil post payment punya jawatan kuasa. Biasanya jawatan kuasa ni adalah subjek dengan lampiran A lah. Yang mana lampiran A ni sebenarnya adalah untuk menentukan tata tertib. Apakah cadangan tata tertib yang dikenakan ke atas pegawai yang terlibat dalam menguruskan kes ini yang telah menyebabkan kerugian pada kerajaan. Jadi masa itulah yang susah tu, kan? Those we have to form another committee to set to discuss on this matter lah. We try not to involve those are already involved in the jawatan kuasa penyiasatan bebas ataupun jawatan kuasa penyiasatan kes aman, ataupun yang pernah involved dalam siasatan sebelum ini. So it will be biased. And most of the time sekarang ni kita dah keluar pilihan baru. Kalau untuk lampiran A ni akan dipengurusikan oleh Timbalan Pengarah Pengurusan Negeri. So try not to be biased lah. Tapi kalau itulah benda-benda macam ni, because tata tertib tu memang as what in Leading 1993. Okay, I need to go fast. Okay, biasalah ini ayat standard Kalau saman receive, relax, don't panic. Ini cakap senang lah, penceramah boleh cakap macam ni kan. I know that kita pun masa tu makan tak kenyang, mandi tak basah, tidur tak lena, pakai baju terbalik, butang kat atas kan, pakai baju collar kat belakang, macam-macam lah. Panic, because panic why? Because most of the times we have to differentiate between the civil and criminal. I think if you all know this, panic tu kurang sikit. Sebab bila dapat saman, alamak, dah terbayang dah. Kalau kat Kelantan dulu dia terbayang penjara Pekalan Cepat. No. Don't worry. This is not a criminal. It is a civil. Civil makna dia punya denda dia adalah hukuman monetary lah, bayar pampasan. Kalau tak bayar tu kita lain kan. Tapi kita don't, because we are government servant, as still today government will do all the payouts. Tapi tadilah tata tertib lah datang kan. Jangan slow datang lah. Selepas 14 bulan lepas kes selesai, ingatkan dah selesai dah, happy lah. Tengoklah berat dia sampai Allah kan. Kita pun tak happy juga dengan lampiran A ni. Tapi it's part of our duty lah to complete the cycle of the case saman. And then number 2, which is very important, do not ignore. Jangan ambil letak bawah meja. Alah, kes ni memang dulu lagi patient ni belum masuk lagi dah cerewet dah. Kalau ingat patient tu kan, sekarang ni saman kita letak dalam laci. Ignore it. Don't. Do not do that. And then biasanya yang akan terima saman ni akan melalui pejabat pengarah lah. So kalau katakanlah plaintiff lawyer ni good enough, dia baik sangat, dia tak nak melalui pengarah, dia terus kepada head of department. Maknanya dia post laju tu terus pergi kat department. Dia tak pergi kat pejabat pengarah kan. Ada setengah tu kan, dia pakai DHL. Dia masuk terus kat office. Tak boleh bagi orang lain ni, kena bagi pada penama ni kan. So memang panik gila lah masa tu. So if you receive that, please notify to the hospital management. You have to notify. And then from that hospital management akan notify to us. And then kadang-kadang, most of the time, plaintiff lawyer ni dia akan hantar dah semua. Dia akan hantar ke hospital, dia akan hantar ke bagian amalan, dia akan hantar ke pejabat AGC dan sebagainya. Even sometimes they send to the state punya Attorney General Office, penasihat undang-undang negeri. Okay. And then JKN, of course lah, JKN akan terima lah benda ni. Cuma lambat dengan cepat je. And then what is next? Okay, that's what as I mentioned earlier, if you receive any summon case, please don't be panic. And then don't do immediately jump and buat siasatan angkat kabut. Be relax first. Okay, sometimes as what I mentioned earlier lah, bila kadang-kadang kita buat kes macam ni, kita buat siasatan dalaman, it may fix our weakness. Mind tu to be, sometimes they try to bias tau. Dia try macam nak melindung and then not tell the truth, and then contradict dengan ni. Satu lagi yang lebih nakal lagi, dia dah dapat ni, dia cepat-cepat cari PhD kan, dia buat jalan tikus. Tahu jalan tikus? In between sentence tu ada ruang, tambah lagi, arrow sini, tiba-tiba PhD tu colourful, merah ada, biru ada, hitam ada. Dia try to be smart, actually they are not smart. Actually dia dah ada tempering kat situ. Kita boleh detect banyak kes-kes yang macam tu kan. Sebab masa kita tulis, walaupun pen yang sama, orang yang sama, kita punya mood not the same all the time. Kita main signature tengoklah, hari ni sign besar kan. Kalau tengok signature saya kadang besar, ada hari rasa tak ada mood, kadang pendek. Dan kita juga ada tulisan kita sometimes ada inclination belah kanan sikit, sebelah ni tu. Bila kita buat tambahan-tambahan ni, it's not right, okay? Because it's tempering of the legal documents. So kalau nak buat tambahan, there will be another lecture, okay? So try not to do internal unless it is instructed by medical practice division, okay? Untuk kita buat satu jawatan kuasa penyiasatan kes saman. Yang ni kita akan ada standard format lah, yang mana must be checked by the USASI at least from different states. Tapi kalau ada senior most lagi baik lah. Number 2, allow as a head of departments or seniors in the department, you should allow your staff involved to attend meetings, inquiry, court related to the cases. Don't stop them. Tak boleh pergi ni, you apalah nak pergi ni, tak payah pergi, juga tak ada orang dekat ward. Jangan. So because this is official, okay? And then as a head of department, as a senior in charge of that particular ward ke apa ke, please arrange some replacement. So please facilitate our staff yang nak jadi, dah lah dia nak jadi witness. Kita dah tahu dah berapa tension dia nak pergi ke mahkamah tu. Lepas tu pula kita pula lagi, you tak balik pukul 2, you jaga SKT you 70. Janganlah macam tu, come on lah. Kesian dia kan, tension dah lah tension lagi, nak pergi mahkamah semua kan, dah pergi belum tentu lagi dipanggil kat mahkamah, kena datang lagi tak bila-bila. So try to be a supportive, and then facilitate them. And please kalau dia orang ni nak tengok BHT, yes, please allow them to go through balik BHT, tak ada masalah. Tapi in our present lah, jangankan dia koyak ke, dia edit, dia tambah sini, dia masuk macam-macam. So biasanya kalau kita macam pengalaman saya sendiri, kita akan bagi yang kita dah fotokopi punya. So biasanya dah berlaku kes macam ni, kita dah hantar ke unit records, Jabatan Rekod Perubatan, dia dah paginate everything, dia photo state. So yang original kita simpan. So dia nak tengok yang photo state tadi. Kalau dia nak edit apa-apa, tak ada apa-apa perubahan lah, okay? So facilitate as a head of department or senior consultant, please facilitate Attorney General Office as well, hospital admin as well as staff involved. And then so after all, dah dapat semua finding apa senior kita dah siasat apa ni, please do some improvement and strengthening and prevention at the department level. Dia biasanya kalau dalam kes-kes macam ni, kes saman, biasa we go by this one lah. Number 1 is about their services. Either it is the clinical management, in making diagnosis, proper diagnosis, referrals, delay in giving treatment, commencement of treatment, decision on cesarean section, not to Caesar, ni. Kalau ONG benda-benda macam tu lah kan. And then bladder deceleration ni, type 1, type 2. Kadang-kadang dah tracing, poor tracing pun, poor tracing ni masih lagi, sambung lagi kan, sampai habis pentagram tu. Satu gulung tu habis kita tu kan. Tapi tak ada orang review. Buat kami panjang lagi, tapi no one review. Yang review pula Hosman, dia pun tulis sikit, case continue CTG lagi. Continue CTG kan. So kalau yang funny sikit, dia kata put left letter bagi ice kan. Dulu kan kita dah practice kan, sekarang practice lagi kan. Kan bagi minum air batu. Dia dulu ni, kita dulu. That's why I say dulu. Betul tak dia kan? Zaman dulu. Betul tau. I think you better check your JM, your train nurse. They still practice. Kalau buat lagi, potong dia orang. CTG type 1, they ask the patient to drink ice. Yeah, this are we of course, we doctor, we say don't. But our nurses, you better check, yeah. If they practice, make sure that don't write in the BHT in the first place. Don't write it in the BHT. Kalau pergi kat mahkamah, apa ni pakai batu? Batu cap apa ni? Cap madu ke? Cap apa ke? Kan? Because I do not know the science behind it, we don't understand. But probably because of vasoconstriction, probably agaknya sejuk pun semua dia punya momentum semua ada vasoconstriction, or the blood goes to uterus, probably lah. This is but no science behind it. But you see, you better check and make sure that your trained nurse or your JM do not write it in their reports by giving ice to the patient. Put lab letter, kita faham lah benda tu, give oxygen, okay fine, but giving ice, okay, nanti kita kena teruk kat mahkamah. So this are benda-benda macam ni, as a head of department, as a senior consultant, please take an action to improve, to improve and strengthen the prevention level at your department. Because as macam saya kata tadi lah, if can improve documentation, that is the first step. So biasanya dalam apa-apa jawatan kuasa, kita akan buat cabutan minit bebas, dan we always send to the hospital for the improvement mechanism. Whether you have take any action not to improve whatever finding yang kita jumpa dalam jawatan kuasa penyiasatan. Okay, ada responsibility as a seniors. Okay, be ready to be called as an expert witness anytime. Kita pun akan buat expert witness punya course. Dr. Nizam, tak tahu bila lagi kita akan buat juga ni expert witness ni, sebab we have to have a pool of specialist yang Datuk supaya bila call as an expert witness, they know in terms of preparing good reports, and then know how to give statements lah in courts. And then external inquiry and panel, external inquiry panel. So the saksi and above ready to be the pengurusi. Baru ni kita ada dah di Kedah, untuk zon utara kita dah buat dah untuk inquiry punya training. So nanti kita akan buat di Pantai Timur pula, kita akan buat di zon selatan juga. So this is so dalam inquiry ni, as a chairperson, you should know lah. As a chairperson, you should plan what should ask, and then what should you get from the inquiry. Kan either it is a case yang melibatkan professionalism, or it is because of the ethics issue or behavior issue. So at least you can pecahkan case pada 3, then only you can detail it out. And then of course, bila dah ada external inquiry ni, of course the report is very, very important, because this report, katakanlah yang ni external inquiry for Agracia. So kita dalam jawatan kuasa Agracia ada tingkat amalan, bahagian amalan kita akan tengok, amat bergantung kepada report sini. Okay. Then of course, as I mentioned earlier, post payment committee, yang kat sini kalau those are not involved in the previous investigation committee, kita akan appoint as a member to determine whether the doctors involved dalam pengurusan kes tersebut melakukan kesesuaian yang boleh dikenakan tindakan tata tertib. So far kita tahu bahawa kebanyakan kes yang, as I mentioned earlier, most of the cases yang go to medical litigation, memang kita boleh kata almost gone lah kes kita. Tetapi sebenarnya doktor yang kena tata tertib ni, dia betul-betul terbalik lah. It's reverse from whatever reverse daripada kes yang menang di mahkamah. Understand what I mean? Kalau di mahkamah semua tu kita kalah, almost semua kita kalah, kita pay out. Tapi dalam tata tertib ni, semua terlepas daripada tata tertib sebenarnya. Betul Dr. Nizam? Good Dr. Nizam. Memang kita susah nak determine, because we work as a team. You see, many doctors involved. Terkecuali lah kalau kes, even kes yang tertinggal ganggi besar muka ni pun dalam perut. It was one case. Kita tak boleh nak determine siapa yang sebenarnya. It is not fair to blame our runner, nurses tu, kan? Mungkin kat CSSD dia salah kira. Contoh. Takkan kita nak blame the surgeon, the ONG specialist, kan? Tu doktor yang duduk pegang detektor sampai terlelap tu buat apa kat situ, kan? NS, lagi NS kat kepala, tak tengok sekali, tengoklah gamji tu sekali, kan? Tolong kira, kan? Apa salahnya? Gelap besar, tahu nak ngumpat lah tu. Kan? So, jadi it is very difficult for us to determine siapa yang sebenarnya culprit, kan? Kalau dia 20% culprit, takkan kita nak kenakan dia tata tertib, kena 7 million tadi, kena surcharge sampai pension mati, hidup balik pun tak habis bayar 7 million ni, kan? So far kalau kita ambil tata tertib pun biasanya amaran tata tertib at least setahun tak naik pangkat. Tapi kalau yang memangku jusasi ni macam mana, risau juga, kan? Mungkin kan tak boleh confirm sih, macam tu lah. So kita banyaklah perkara yang akan dipertimbangkan lah untuk kita ambil tata tertib ni. But the very important that you have to have very strong committee members in the post payment committee members ni. We have to have very strong person which can determine and find out whether our doctors involved betul-betul tak dia ni menyebabkan negligence, kecuaian yang menyebabkan kemudaratan yang teruk pada pesakit, ya. Alamak, Dr. Nizam. Okay, take home message. Dr. Nizam, last slide. Notify and forward litigation document to relevant section for further action. Number 1. Number 2, facilitate the teams. Don't frustrate your teams. Facilitate them. Bagi semangat. Tak apa, ini kes saman. Biasa, saman-saman ni memang biasa. Saya pun dah kena saman dulu, tapi okey. Macam tu lah. Walaupun tak kena lagi, kan. Just to boost your team. Bagi dia semangat. Okey, bos pun dah kena saman, kita nak buat apa? Apa kita risau sangat, kan? So, facilitate them. Give them some moral support for them to go to court. And then the third one, improve and prevention of similar incidents in the future. This is very important. So it is very difficult for us to take lump sums everything, to improve the to do prevention at your level. Tapi at least you go step by step. Try to improve documentation and communications. If we can improve these two, documentation and communication, insyaAllah banyak perkara boleh selesai, banyak perkara boleh selesai. Sebab this is all the magnetize, these two issue, documentation and communication, actually this magnetize the small problems yang lain. If we tackle this, insyaAllah perkara lain boleh diselesaikan. Okey, sekian, terima kasih. Minta maaf Dr. Nizam. Okey, kalau ada soalan saya rasa mungkin kita akan tangguh lah.